You guys, it's MJ from All to Love. How are you? I I'm just hearing that for new people, welcome to All to Love TV. I'm MJ, like I just said, and this is my book. This is Shazbot. FYI, there will be swearing on this word. I am working on this word. There will be swearing on this channel. I do have a conscious awareness that it's probably not that high vibrashe, but at the same time, I come from a small like industrial town and grew up with a lot of like truckers and factory workers and construction workers. That's my like roots kind of thing as far as this planetary realm. There's like this, yeah, just the working class, and so um anyway, I don't even know why I'm saying that particularly, other than the fact that, yeah, this is a channel that's pretty much dedicated to like um, the whole world being more loving. That would be nice. And ultimately, I realized that as long as I was totally not loving myself, like, how could I be an effective channel for loving change in the world? And then all of this self-love mumbo jumbo started to happen and come into my awareness. And I remember reading The Secret in about 2006, and I was practicing all the Louise Hay positive affirmation stuff when I was about 15 years old. And I practiced positive affirmation around a time when I was suicidal, bulimic, and anorexic. So, and heavily depressed. And by the time I was almost flunking out of school is when I went to see a psychiatrist. They prescribed me Prozac. And instead of taking the meds, which I probably did for like less than a week, and then I threw the meds out, and I ended up going to the library and studying about bulimia and anorexia as disorders. And lo and behold, even at that time, the kind of psychological breakdown that they gave, especially to young women, was pretty much bang on textbook, like what was going on in my life. And having everything kind of spinning out of control, oftentimes, especially as young people, the way we cope is to control our food or control our, the little things. I also became an obsessive exercise person. So I had these polarities. I was either deeply, darkly depressed and sort of trying to slit my wrists, or I was like running at 6 a.m. and going to school and achieving high achieving, acing all of my tests until I would crash out and then kind of swing to the other polarity. And it's from living in those polarities for so long, of spinning round and round in these sort of despairing cycles, that eventually I committed to the yoga and meditation, and I committed in the most profound way that I knew how to my own expansion and my own self-fulfillment. Regardless, I was sort of tired, and I still am. I still get these waves of, I'm tired of the world. I don't want anything from that world, and I don't want to give anything. I'm not invested in that paradigm anymore, because I believe that paradigm is dying and old and not serving the human collective anymore. I don't want to sit here and fight the system. I don't want to sit here and tear it down, because in my awareness, it's already falling. It's unstable. It's not based in any truth. It's not based really in any goodness. It's based in greed and corruption and blame and attack and power over. It's based in our most divisive and ugly aspects as a human consciousness. And so it's important for us to like look at it, like bow our heads to it and salute it, and then be like, and off we go. Let's focus on new earth energy. Let's focus on, hi Alpha Self, lovely to see you here. Let's focus on actually creating from a heart space. And what I'm finding, even as I grow into my more mature self, is like, wow. One, the system sort of makes us believe, and or my personal imprinting made me believe in throughout my life, that we all operated the same, that we're all having the same perspective. That's like a big head fuck, because we're not at all, at all, at all, at all. We're not having the same experience here. We're having similar reflective aspects, but none of us are having the same experience. Which is again why this paradigm shift is so fucking radical, because we're literally taught that we're all the same. Oh, unless we're like famous or royalty, or again, go to private schools. But this is where I'm seeing, even I'm having a lot of compassion for even like the upper classes, or like the da 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 da, is that I'm just like, they're fucked. Like they're running the same programs and going down that path, but you can already start to see the disillusionment. You can, I don't know if you guys ever get this as a collective, we need to stop living in greed for sure. And here's the thing, in my awareness since having these early awakenings was that in me, I'm like, but people aren't greedy. So and that's part of the lie to me about Darwinism and our historical context and why we're all imprinted. We're basically taught that we're all inherently sinners, right? I.e., if we're taught from quite an early age, no, 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 shh, you're a sinner, you're wrong, you're bad, then we spend the rest of our lives trying to make up for it. You know, just these little kids that are told you're inherently wrong and you don't belong here and you better sit down, shut up, and step in line and do as you're told. So you can see very directly how this is an enslavement system. We are trained from a very early age to disconnect, just like Phil Pullman's The Northern Lights. We're disconnected. We give our power to the church, to our parents, to our school systems, to the working paradigm, to the economy, and then we start to work it off. You know, we start to give our energy and our time for money so that we can be a consumer in this world, and that to me is absolutely fucked up. It's fucked up shit. It's hella fucked up. Hi Kurt. Hi, how are you, my friend? So all these changes are ultimately they're happening inside of us, and this is another part of the big head mess thing, is that we are so accustomed to externalizing everything that we do. You've said it, like loop to loop to loop to loop to we and the other, it seems to be just par for the course that we go round and round and round and round and round until we finally learn a lesson, until we can finally see it and go, that's what it is. I can see it now. I can see it clearly. I can see that energy. I know what it is. I'm one with that. And I'm going to cut it out now. I'm going to cut that energy out. And it usually is a dance. There's usually a pattern flow, you could say. It's not necessarily black and white. For some reason, I'm getting this thing about black and white as well, is that I got about something like loyalty. Loyalty isn't gray. Loyalty is black and white. You're a loyal person and you're loyal through and through until you're not that kind of person, you know? And this is also a big part of I would say this next level clear out for us is we are at sort of in any given moment, we are facing our past patterning, facing our past projection, facing our past hatred, our past self, the collective program, our ancestral pattern, our own fucking personal karma. And then these waves, they clear out. And then as soon as the wave goes, it's like we take a couple more steps closer to the shore. And then, whoa, and then another wave comes, it kind of topples us over. And then we get up and we take another few steps forward. And a part of a pretty powerful, like one of the visceral, I don't have these often, but they're like visceral meditations. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. Nice. Oh, the fear is gone. Even better. So yeah, we're facing the old, but actually it's like, there again, this is where sometimes words are too limited to actually describe the mind-blowingness of the perception that's happening in the field, as far as what breakthroughs we're going through, how quickly we're actually moving through, even though the paradox is that nothing is moving, nothing is shifting, everything's staying the same. You people are all fucking crazy. What are you even talking about? You could never be free. You could da-da-da-da. And you're like, I can be free. And like, we think that there's these big external things that are going to happen in our lives, but really that's the shit. It's in these little hidden moments. It's not the big moments when the people are applauding. That's what our weird limited human mind thinks, is that once the whole world is applauding me, then I'll be happy. No, the weirdest thing for me is like the happiness and the actual transformation is when I'm alone in my bedroom crying because I can't get my shit together. But then in the midst of those tears, there's this fucking godlike benevolent voice that is like, you're safe. This must be gone, you know, or like some divine intuitive voice being like, let it go, just let it go. And then you go, ah! And then you just like purge even more. And you're just like, okay. And it's these, and again, like I'm obviously making fun, but that's the legit moment to moment in the reality of owning it and not living in denial of the fact, because here, and that this is something else that is like weird as anything kind of thing, but like the more I do all this, I can feel I can feel how my energy vibrationally is becoming less and less and less aligned with any mass or group consciousness. People hit up against me, and I'm aware that there's the assumptions and judgments and da da da, and this is how the world is, and blah 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 blah, and I'm just sat there like, yeah, like holding my own, but in my mind going, I need to get the fuck out of here. I need to get the fuck out of here because I don't want to be fucking imprinted by people's bullshit. But they don't even know they're in the bullshit. So you got to have mega compassiones, you know? But then I'm just looking at your side with like the inner work shining bright, LOL truth. Yes. And here it's like these channels where I can share and have people receive and meet me here kind of thing. And yet the day-to-day living of this reality is still a bit perplexing to me. As in I then get feedback resonance where I'm like, oh, so like hold on, yeah. The majority of the collective is still living in fear and denial. Right. Okay. Gotta remember that. Right. But and I still vision my happy ultra love world. I still vision all these people, da 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 da. But day in, day out, oh my God. The discernment moving on this path is just incredibly, yeah, like, but then I guess that makes sense when it comes to these sort of with great power comes great responsibility. It's like I don't want to be a dick. You know, like I don't want to be like some twatty movie star who's like all polished and nice in the, what is that? Like, you know, when someone's like uber duper polished on a, what am I saying? Interview. And they go, oh, and we have all of the right things to say and all of that. And then behind the screen, they're a total douchebag to people. You know, they treat their assistant like poopy, and they're not kind to the homeless people in the street. And they pretend like they can't douche fuck all for people's homelessness or whatever. When really, let's be honest, when you're making 10 mil per project, you could probably afford to share, you know, more than the advertising campaign that you're doing for fucking Revlon. This is again where I obviously was never going to be cut out for the acting industry, because in my awareness I was like, so prostitution then? So I might not have to have sex, although we know now that the industry is fucking rife with this bullshit. But let's be honest, as women, we're like, we know it. And it's not just Hollywood, yo. I worked in a furniture store where my boss told me that I'm going to have to use my sexuality to get ahead in the world. Yeah, I was 19 years old, and that was my fucking adult work life, is that my boss was telling me I'm going to have to use my sexuality to get ahead in the world. I'm like, thank you, world. Thank you for training me to just be a slave and a prostitute at that. Mega appreciation. No wonder we're a little bit angry and upset. You're like, damn you. You fucking programmed me to just bend over and take it. Like, that's not cool. So going back to a couple days ago when I talk about the feminine rage, there is why we have to understand intellectually the historical context, because our reactions aren't just based in the here and now. Our reactions are contained in the dormant fucking cellular activity of these things, which are infinite, which go back various fucking timelines, and which literally kind of expand us and move us forward, either in love and in clarity, and or we go back, or we just repeat the same shit. We just keep blaming our parents and blaming society and blaming the men in our lives and going, has nothing to do with me. These people are just fucking annoying. And or you're just perpetuating cycles of fucking oppression. No, 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 no. I never sold my body for sex. Although, like, I don't have any judgment around that, by the way. Like, I sometimes think of like if a woman really enjoys sex, like, why not? It's probably an easier and better way to make money than like doing a McDonald's fucking commercial. Like, that's the legit truth. I'm like, to each their own. I was just a bit of a radical feminist and a compassionate fucking vegan way back when. So when I started to go for auditions for McDonald's, I felt like I was prostituting myself because I was I was being asked to sacrifice my principles for Mackie D's, and I couldn't do it. And then, by the way, I couldn't do it. I left Canada. My agent at the time actually got pregnant, which was my little inner cue to be like, I'm getting out of here. I bought my one-way ticket to England and off I went. I had no, and I ended up back in the industry, but that was mainly as another ploy to actually stay in this country longer. So I went from a working holiday maker visa, and then I applied to be a student. And I went to the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts, which damn near fucking killed me. Once again, institutionalization for a free spirit is a very dangerous thing. Um, so if you are like that, if you align with my heart's sharing vibration of authentic truth and inherent belongingness here, and you feel that you're being a bit compromised, or that institution or academia is fucking stifling your spirit, get out, my friend! Get out! You're just a bunch of insecure professors who are going to try to take your spirit away because they sold theirs to the devil many years ago. That's the thing. I say these things with quite a lot of passion, and that's where a lot of people misinterpret where my heart is coming from. I actually like love people, and I do love humanity, and like I'm here really with the purity of the heart and compassion. But once you see through veil after veil after veil, and you see the corruption, and you see how deeply woven it is to the fucking construct of this reality from a long line of historical programming, you're like, holy fuck! Holy fuck, people are in the shits. And yet, increasingly, I'm aware that there's nothing I can do about people or the world being in the shits. I just have to keep going within the self and outworking it, which is what I do. Like yesterday was a lot of time just going like, and like not knowing when this energy was going to lift off, but just being like, okay, uh, and then going into this trust mode, right? Rather than going into like, I'm a big fat fucking failure and life is never going to offer me anything of joy because people just fucking keep ripping the rug out from under me after me being this naive little servant girl to people's businesses or people's lives, and me just giving, and I'm so people pleasing is so right, especially when it comes to people pleasing, privileged people's victimhood. Eventually you're a little bit sicklied out by that. You're just like, oh god, you don't give a shit about people, you only want your little fucking life to look a certain way. And then you fucking lie and manipulate to try to keep your little status quo in place. Ew, disgusting. Right? Anywho. Oh, hey, Kurt. Hey, my friend. Oh, nice one, buddy. Plus, Kurt, you're somebody that, like, just intuish, viberish. I feel like you're quite in alignment, which means, like, you're a younger generation. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but this is my intuition with people that are, say, like, in their early 20s or mid 20s, people basically that are younger than me, and younger than the 80s babies, right? So like late 80s into 90s, my intuition basically says that you guys don't have as much karmic backlog. Good for you. Good for you. But for my generation, possibly higher, and this is where we get into like different brackets or whatever, like indigo, blah blah blah. So some of us, like as indigos, there's like a little bit the bridging energy. So like there's still a lot of like hardwired, quite low level patterning in my life as well that I'm still facing and working with and intending to deal with, and blah blah blah, and asking for guidance and please help release and blah, right? And yet there's 50 years here. So do you res with that, Elf? And maybe Rochelle does as well. So yeah, so Rochelle, you guys are more in my upper bracket. So I'm like the 30, we're like the real that 80s bracket, or early 80s is a real shifter bracket. And then aligning with that which you guys just hold space and resonate already, right? So it's like we've been shifting the karma for most of our lives. If we've been feeling, we've been healing, which means we've been doing this work in the shadows for most of our lives. Yes, there were times where we tried to cut it off and we tried to fit in and do what we were fucking told and all that shit, but we just knew we'd never survive there. So, one by one, we're slowly breaking free. But people like Kurt, and hence Kurt, this is why you're like, hey, I have awesome teachers. Yeah, you're in alignment with your purpose, I would say. You might not be in every single area of your life, but you're quite an open heart, you're intellectual, plus you're a white guy, and that's, again, this is a good thing. You're a sensitive white guy who kind of can gel in these open-minded conversations and have ultimate respect in your unity and your sovereignty. So there's no judgment, there's no agenda. So my hairdresser, and for some reason I'm thinking of her in my mind. My hairdresser, she's like early 20s, and we were having this chat one day when she was cutting my hair, is that I realized, I was like, oh, she's not carrying as much, which again, we do need. It's like in some of these circles, people talk about how there's like the crystalline and the rainbow children. And my intuition, or like higher self, Holy Spirit, or whatever, actually knows that if I do give birth, it's going to be to one of these rainbow kids, because they're not in the new timelines. We're not carrying the baggage with us, which is why some of us, and even someone weird like me, how I ended up deducing how it's working as far as what is the karmic backlog. The karmic backlog is literally all of the low level constructed realities that we're still attached to, which means our patterns are attached to old paradigm, and we're the ones breaking those patterns. And it's one in the same. Breaking the patterns of the construct externally is the same as all this inner work that we've been doing of let's release the oppression. So for me, so many of my random emotional storms, like in the depth of my emotional storm, it's really just letting go of separation, heartbreak, visions of my dad being taken away from me, visions of my mom, visions of people gossiping and persecuting and cutting me out and betraying, like all that shit. I'm just having to go over and over, see it, what it is, let it go, let it go, let it go. And then here's where it's like the discipline in my mind. I just like, I can see it going over my mind, and I can either keep choosing it and believing in it, or being like, right? Kurt Mill, interesting. Yeah, and that, I would say, Kurt, is possibly something that people are yeah, I Kurt, think that that's actually where the disparity lay for most, including myself, in traversing all this online entrepreneurial shit. I say that with love and respect, okay? I'm not dissing it. At the same time, I'm not a saleswoman as such. However, I've managed to do pretty well just by being myself, which is why I tend to not even propagate that as a tactic for people, because in my truth, just by practicing and getting good at something, you end up getting paid for it. And that's where I've lined myself up with yoga and with coaching. In England, for example, just by being myself, people say stuff about having sessions with me, and then people randomly book sessions with me via word of mouth. So it kind of is the same principle as even like the old school business practice. If you're just a decent human being with good intentions to share and to serve, people will want what you have to give, regardless of what it is. However, that outworking, that's not the paradigm, right? The old paradigm has us be like, you gotta get a job, and sometimes you're just gonna hate your life. You're just gonna have to be, you're gonna have to be like a servant slave. That's just how it is. Not a rut. Job experience, not a rut. Nice, nice, nice. That's a nice shift in perspective, actually. Yeah, Daniel, and then that comment makes me think about how, because I was having this insight and or memory reflection earlier, or within the last 24 hours, was like, that's another weird paradigm of old paradigm, is like, does anyone remember how we were supposed to like pick a job? Oh, wait, how old were we? 10? Like, we're all bombarded. So we go into school, sit down, shut up, stop playing, stop imagining, just do what you're told and listen, and memorize all this information about the world that you're living in. And then I don't know what age it is. Like the age when everything starts to get probably around puberty, let's be honest, when we're most vulnerable as a human and our body's changing out of control and nobody talks about it and everyone just tells us to not have sex regardless. And for most of us as women as well, we always have this really weird patriarchal thing. Like our dads randomly stop talking to us and stop wanting to give us hugs and stuff because our bodies became like a woman and they don't know how to deal. And because our society doesn't talk about sex, we're all just a bit like, huh, okay. But as young women, once we get boobs, we're supposed to be fucking sexy, even though we have no idea what that fucking means. And then we're just, all of these weird fucking programs start to spin out. And then you find out even in astrology that like our 20s, we just repeat patterns. We just repeat our sickly, toxic childhood karma patterns until we rise enough to suddenly become a little bit more aware, right? Become a robot. It was 10, right? It's about that age that suddenly we're just like, okay. And in fairness, isn't it interesting? You're saying 10. I can remember I was 10. That was the age that I started to go have like almost you could say bipolar breakdowns. So I started to go really, really mental around the age of 10. And that's probably the point where we decide to like, this is energy. This energy is dangerous, right? Hello's world at 10. And see, it's amazing to have that awareness because we do have that awareness. But again, our culture, so one, we have to, one, we're supposed to know exactly what we want to do for the rest of our lives. And by the way, does anyone also remember how limiting our job potentials were? It was like, do you want to be a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, or an astronaut? If you're super smart, you might even become a professor. Or, like it was like these very cookie cutter Truman Show. And then, oh my God, don't even like in the world, hellos, the world I'm gay. I'm like, like that. There is another whole big kettle of fish of like, how weird this world is. It's that we don't want to even address and talk about sex at the moment in our lives where it's the most obviously critical thing that's happening. Our body's changing out of control. We're supposed to have all the answers and figure out what we are and what we're going to do in our lives. And then, oh, wait. Sexuality is just another whole big fucking taboo of bullshit that like everyone's supposed to be sexy and da 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 da, but at the same time we're being given these subliminal messages or not so subliminal messages of like, but don't have sex, but sex is dangerous, and really you should go into the shadows, and really unless you know exactly what your sexuality is, i.e. gay, straight, trans, like whatever that is, that that doesn't really like fit into, but then it does, and it's like, sometimes I just think nobody gets to win when we're all just in judgy mode and like pointing finger mode, which is kind of like the world that we were taught. At the same time, I'm just here with the pure heart love vibration going, guys, we're all okay. you know we're all okay and we're all allowed to explore our sexuality, and guess what, have a little bit of fun in these bodies. But yeah, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm going to be blowing lids off of in the coming years, is that we don't realize how much um sex brings up shame and guilt. How many people have had sex with people where they're wanting the lights off all the time? We want to engage in the most intimate physical act with another human being, but we want to do it in the dark because we don't want to see our bodies. We don't want them to see our bodies. Just fuck me and get it over with, right? It's like there's because we're not taught sacred sexuality, let alone we're not taught sacred birth. We're not taught, if anything, women are frightened of giving birth, and then we're not taught sacred death. So no wonder we're all in this weird programming of unconscious reincarnation, just going over and over and over and over again, because we're all dying going, what the fuck was that? And then we come back, and now it's like, you know, all or nothing standards reduce competition. All or nothing standards. Hmm. Ooh, that makes me feel interesting. That's a really clever insight, right? I know, but that to me is part of the overarching capacity of self-love. I know for a fact that now that I'm, like, fully invested in myself and loving myself, I can love people better. What is interesting to me, though, energetically, is that if people aren't going to do the work that is required to love themselves better, I'm not somebody that's gonna hang around. And that's part of the radicalness and or the power of an empath and an introvert, is that I'm fine on my own. And that's where a lot of people don't necessarily, like, get it. And or I've had different people ostracize me and make out that I'm antisocial or I've got these sort of serious problems. I'm like, it's called introversion. It's just a personality type. It's not that extreme. Although introverts are more rare. And especially to the insecure extrovert, and a secure introvert, which would frighten the hell out of them because the silence and the depth and the like, why aren't you talking? Or why don't you need me? I need you. Why don't you need me? And I'm like, oh, because I like to be by myself. And it's often the group consciousness or the pack mentality or those that are insecure, they can't be by themselves, which is why they they it, they fear that which they don't understand. So usually it's just a misunderstanding, but because their instinct, their egoic instinct or pain body reaction is to make it wrong because they have to be right. That's the egoic tactic, right? That this is all the weird outpouring of this channel. This channel isn't here to make anything or anybody wrong. This channel is just to express a voice that I feel has been denied from our collective ears for centuries, millennia even. I.e., we've denied the loving feminine capacity. And on top of that, I'm not interested in fitting this loving capacity into the old paradigm structures. I think the old paradigm structures are really fucked up. I'm not interested in selling you guys a better life. I'm interested in connecting with you, connecting with my brothers and sisters who feel where this energy is coming from. And if you feel it, you know it to be a part of you because we're all a part of this together. The only people that can't feel it is because they're disconnected and too busy trying to manipulate me or get something from me. And I just accept it for what it is. That's just naturally where a lot of people's points of attractions are. And I have compassion for that. I just don't tolerate it. I'm too responsible for my energy now, and it's too tantalizing not to be. I'm so empowered by how far I've come from old people pleaser Molly to the Molly that can literally just like walk away from someone in conversation because she's bored, because her intuition knows damn well that we're having a different conversation and this person is just on a spin. They're just trying to say, prove, do, and or put me down in very interesting sort of interesting language. And I'm like, "Oh, I know what's happening. Your pain body is putting me down right now because you don't know what's going on here. And so instead of just asking questions about my life, you're going to make assumptions and put me in a box because that makes you feel better." And that's okay. Isn't it nice that I can actually just like work that out and then put and then boom, ding, ding, right? But again, it makes it very clear. Um yeah, makes it very clear. So you guys, I think that's it for today. I've got some blood flowing through me, which actually is another huge piece to all of this stuff. It's another piece for us women to be able to hold our own a little bit better, is to be familiar and get to know the energy of your cycle rather than being like, ah, ew, disgusting. I should never have this. Ew, I'm bleed. Ooh, ooh. So rather than the collective shame, that's another female responsibility. We need to start to own, integrate, and learn from what this blood cycle is because again, it's hella important. And again, it helps us to be more in ownership of our beingness. Creative manipulation. Did I say those words or did you say those words, Kurt? I'm not sure. Your channel is Vent from Ancestral Debt, but there's a lot of clear out, there's a lot of expression happening. And I'm sure there will be that. There will absolutely be the coming together, you guys. Oh, come to France in June for the Unplug retreat, which I'm starting. I've done the outline now for Unplug for Freedom. I'm pretty stoked about it. It's gonna be quite beefy, beefier than I originally thought. But then all the courses have been beefier, actually. Love, light, and gratitude to you, my friend, Alpha Blues. And you guys, like, again, massive love. Kurt, you said it. Kurt said it in creative manipulation. And see, this is where discernment comes in, because everything is manipulation to a certain degree if you're very conscious of creation. We're all manipulating it always from within the self, but there again, are we manipulating the creative aspect from a place of jealousy, resentment, fear, denial, from this place of division and not owning shit? Or are we creating from a place of like open-hearted manipulation where it's like, wait, how can we make this better for everybody? It's like this idea of delusion. It's all a deluded reality. All of us perceiving through this lens is a delusion. Like we are living in this, but then hence that's what the interesting piece is of people go from the misery and then are like, oh, those happy people, they're so delusional. Or like someone like me, I've often been called like, stop being so unrealistic. You're delusional, Molly. And I'm like, everyone's fucking delusional. You can't call one human delusional and say that the other is not delusional. This is a delusional reality. We're all creating it as we go. And in my awareness, I'm like, so we can either create, like Kurt and I talk about, we all talk about it, and Kurt tends to be the main giver of truth when it comes to how the economy can move. But it's like, look, there's answers and there's solution that come up when you have a more open mind. So yeah, we can continue to perpetuate a really shitty fucking delusion where there's a few people basically stealing from everybody else and destroying our home, or we can create a delusional reality where we get along better, where we actually share with one another, and we get to just live in peace and frolic about and be creators. Now, yeah, we probably will toil. We might have to like tend to the garden. We might have to do a bit of labor, but I'm talking like a couple hours a day, not 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day of like, right? Yeah, Kurt, right? We're waiting. I know. And I'm with you as far as like it is like that. There is a bit of that waiting energy. I just did the updates for the fire for the signs, including Ophiuchus. So, and definitely one of them, it did come in. I think it was the earth signs. Pardon me. It did come in that like things are coming in. And for some of us, we've been kind of waiting since this whole year. I can't believe it's May. In a way, I'm just like, what? It's been 4 months. Time has no relevancy to me in that regard anymore, though. So, oh, same, same, same. Like, basically, that's what any of us want. So we want land so we can grow our own organic food, grow our own plant medicine, and just live in harmony in community and residence. It's not that hard. And then the more of us who do that, essentially, the more of us, that's like the system collapsing is one and the same as us basically removing ourselves from it. Because once we become self-sufficient, there's a lot of new paradigm communities that will be operating sans currency in old paradigm construct. So the currency is like, it's like just evaporating. The old paradigm currency as power construct is just evaporating and disappearing, which is why we're seeing a birthing evolution of digital currency exchange. It did come in that things are coming in. Yes. Yeah, they are. And I almost feel like we're so beyond it now that it's gonna happen, and, like, again, lots of people will be maybe shocked, but a bunch of us will be like, we're already gonna be, like, working on the next thing, which we kind of already are. This is why I'm like, we just have to keep getting out of our heads and into our hearts, because it's not in our the answers aren't in our head, and, like, we are already pioneers. I know it might not look like that in our own little worlds, like me in my little coastal town, mostly staying in my bedroom, like right? But 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 my higher self would have me believe and trust. It's like there is a there's a pioneering energy. There's a deep knowing of a pioneering energy, and a lot of it is reversed because in my old paradigm, it came out of a grandiosity, fear, unworthiness. The flip is that it actually comes from a place of love and integrity and unity and a desire for a gooey and benevolent life, realizing that I can only share and teach that way of being by being that way of being. So I'm here sort of transitioning with you guys to share with you the journey of the manifested path in service to the whole, not in service to my own ego. Which the more you do the work in earnest, you just get slammed. You're like, anytime you're acting from ego, you just have to go round and round, right? Until it's done. Oh, wicked. Elf herself, where are you in the world? Oh, you guys. Yeah, totally, totally, Kurt. Like this is pretty much what is happening. And certainly, although I'm still in the day to day, like sifting and moving through energies, certainly I my that's what the intuition feels. The intuition feels that naturally, as more and more and more people wake up, it but there again, Elf herself, I just call you Elf. I live in a barter system already. A lot of us do. And I have again for like almost 10 years where when you're truly service based, life unfolds and supports you in miraculous ways. I.e., I didn't even have my life was in total chaos and suffering upstate New York. Okay, cool. So is there a bit of a community or is it just among your anyway, like you can share for sure, as much as you want. Search Ubuntu Society. That rings a bell. That definitely rings a bell. So yeah, it's in essence the way we operate that is helping us bridge the gap of this economy. Like I can't even probably count the number of different big old fucking corporation companies that they're not getting no money from me. And then the more people do the zero waste, the more people do the veganism, the more people do the unplugging. It's like, you know, the if you imagine like a big old octopus or spider as the spiritual representation of the warfare that we're in, as far as these controller dark energies siphoning the innocent energy of the humans. So essentially what we have to recognize is that that stronghold of spider vampiric energy has been here for however long, and everyone's just been kind of like going, okay, going to our churches and our mosques and praying to the dark forces of the world that are running to control and siphon energy from innocence. And it's all masked in these smoke and mirror illusions or whatever. And what's happening even with the burning up of some of these churches is that they're exposing the true vortexual energy points of the earth, which is helping us to remember, which is us reclaiming our true power. And then we divert. So as long as so more and more people who start to see through the veils are going to take. So imagine this whole holographic illusion is held up by our disempowered illusion and in being under the illusion, being under the dream spell. And so we keep doing it all like, oh, yeah, just keep working, just keep shopping. It's all fun. Just keep praying at our mosques, right? And actually those are all energetic siphoning tactics. So the more of us that like we start eating well, we find our land, we stop buying bullshit, we actually become more conscious consumers or what have you, then you imagine that this whole hologram is upheld by everyone's blindness, just feeding it round and round in these stressful, limiting patterns. One by one by one, I'm going, I'm going to plug in here, i.e., nature, earth, myself here. And more and more and more and more and more and more. So then where does this tentacle have anything? It doesn't have anything to hook into when everybody's not feeding it. So it's like one and the same of us claiming our power is dissolving and collapsing these branches of the system or the economy. And as you know, it's like exactly, Kurt, like we can see the Vatican and religion starting to close it out. And it's always funny to me that people are like, spirituality shouldn't make any money. I'm like, yo, Have people not been giving money to the fucking Catholic Church since the dawn of time? I'm like, and yet us little slave peasant people in the world should be doing it all for free. And that's what people always expected. Like, it's not about the money. I'm like, yeah, but you're happy to have sessions with me and you're happy to have a yoga class with me and you're happy to fucking take my energy from me. But you don't see that equates as like financial. But there again is the disparity of our patriarchal structure is that women were not like given money. We were just expected to do stuff and then be looked after, and then there again is these huge double standards where a lot of us in this generation we're still working out wanting to be honest with, but you guys know the legit truth. Like, I'm never desiring to come from a place of attack, although it might seem like that sometimes just because I'm hurting, right? It's not actually I'm attacking other, it's because I'm seeing a pattern in myself that it's one of those ugly like those systematic patterns where you're like, oh my god, I've just been patterned to sell myself. And then it goes. Elf, drier climates have a lower allergy zone. Oh wait, hold on. Could not breathe. Allergies are horrible. Oh, so the allergies are bad in oh, sorry, NC you're saying. That's North Carolina, not yeah, yeah, yeah. So Daniel, that's my awareness as well. Like, this is where I'm like, I'm not a austere type of yoga teacher. I'm not like yoga is the only way to enlightenment. I again in my awareness, and that's like the same about when I had my awakening. So I had these like early awakenings or whatever, which I just knew intuitively that basically all of the major world religions had the same teaching. In essence, the same teaching of like know thyself, thine is the kingdom. Like, it's all and like love thy brother or whatever. It's like those core teachings are essentially the core teachings of all of the world's major religions. Part of our human like is like we've because of the power of those teachings, some lovely people have like taken that power and then realized that they can kind of use it to make people do shit for them, which I find unbearable actually. Yeah, I know, Kurt. That's where I think I have to often bring up the idea of privilege and entitled privilege is that a lot of the people that used me and manipulated me in my life were people that already had lots of stuff. They owned property, they had pensions, or they had family money around them, or they had a partner who who bought stuff for them. And yeah, so this is where I'm like having to do a head jig around is like I know I deserve to be here. It just has taken me, and it does often take me a little while to anchor that into a financial system because I'm not inherently aligned with that as a driving force. At the same time, when I've gotten myself into positions where I can't afford to eat or I can't afford to pay rent, and I look at how much I've just done for somebody else to set up their business or to make their life awesome or to offer sessions for free, and then when I need support, they're like, so, they don't support. And then if I try to make them understand that like my time and my energy and my insight and my business acumen, that's all exchangeable in financial terms, like that could equate. And I'll explain to somebody who's manipulating me. I'm like, well, my online clients, this is how much they pay me and da 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 da. But it's like they can't hear it because they're just fixated on like keeping you where they want you. And literally, if they can't keep you where they want you, their whole like image or self image or whatever they think they're protecting, it all starts to get like, and then I just realized that it's because they're lying. And I'm not gonna psychoanalyze people. I don't know whether people consciously lie or they lie because they're just so unclear about what they're actually feeling, or, and this is a huge piece, people are ashamed. Like, a lot of the weird shit that I've had happen between women, for example, it's shame because it's jealousy or resentment, and they don't wanna admit to feeling those feelings, and so they just cut me out and make up stories as to why that happened, rather than being honest about what was actually being felt and then where the action came from. And trust me, you can feel the difference. If someone's action is coming from jealousy, resentment, and denial, it's pretty harsh and it doesn't feel nice. Even though the words might seem kind of nice, there's something else going on. And this is again the plight of the empath, is helping people to understand that we can tune into the invisible. And so, and or somebody pretending to be this sacred connection and then actually behind my back perverting, and i.e. stealing or spying. I'm like, that's a very obvious way of siphoning someone's energy. And then I can look back at that situation and be like, oh yeah, interesting. No wonder I didn't ever want to go back. No wonder I didn't want to hang out with that person. That person was in shame and denial of what was actually going on, of how they actually felt. But because it was pretty perverted and distorted, they couldn't be honest. But once I started to uncover the first layer, especially when someone's pretty aware that there's stuff going on, they just don't want to address it. But then the victim, as it were, uncovers the first layer of abuse. It's like you catch somebody in the act, they're, who knows how they're going to respond, right? And that's what I witnessed, is that, yeah. And there again, at this point in the game of life, I'm just like over it. Everyone, to each their own. If people want to address something, they can. They can come to me and address it, but I'm fucking tired. And this is something as well of the classic why a lot of us have this awareness, is because our parentage did not. Like, and again, it's not their fault or anything like that. It's just that, like, societally we've disconnected from our emotional intuitive connection and we're a little bit fucked up. Like, so a lot of us had parents who there's no chance in hell they would have been able to cope or deal or have an understanding of this. And it's because they were in such torment and suffering in their patterning that we, as the witness to that, made it our fucking purpose to break free and to support them and to love them. But for me, as a 37-year-old woman, I also had to wake up from that overlay, the illusion of trying to make my parents' life better for them. That's not my responsibility. And it was not my responsibility as a child, but that was my protective mechanism for some reason. If I could just make my mom's day a little bit better, that would fucking make me happy, you know? And then when I leave Canada, it was like everything I did was to make my mother and dad happy, everything. And then over cycle and cycle, the further away I got from the vision of what I expected my life to become, the more in despair I got. And then I think we hit different points in our lives, say 27 at Saturn return, or like we hit different decade milestones. You get to 30 and you're poor and alone, and you've just invested like months of your life force to support someone else in their business, and they just decide they don't want to do it anymore, you know? And then not only that, they charge you to try to keep the business going, and you're just like, wow, I have to own all of this, you know? And then somebody who's been owning it all along, the big shift now is that I'm starting to know the difference of I can't own it for other people. And other people would like that, because it's easier if you can just have a bunch of slaves doing your work for you. And if none of us have to do any real work, then, and that's the disparity of the system of privilege, is that it's based on exploitation. People talk about like just be positive and manifest. That's a little bit of a different story when, like, even someone I was talking, and I gotta say, you guys, I love Esther Hicks. I love Abraham, hells to the Yizza. But there, everyone has a place and a purpose, and there's always a binary aspect to any of this. And there's a lot of Esther that her teachings are so mega profound. At the same time, again, there's a privilege piece that needs to be addressed when we're talking about manifesting, where there's a system where there's a double standard. Some people have privilege based on a lineage, right? Doesn't mean they're abundant, doesn't mean they're generous, doesn't even mean they're worthy of it. In as far as the way we try to say, like, you're worthy and da 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 da. And this is what I talk about, the karmic backlog. But unless we can all kind of get on board with the idea of karmic backlog, it creates more division and separation, because in essence, people don't know what we're talking about. People, and that can be close, intimate people. They might want something from you, but they don't know how to actually be honest with you. Hi, Sanal. How are you, my friend? Mm-hmm. Same, Kurt. I've had the same. Internet has been an absolute lifesaver for us being able to connect to like minds, right? And not feel like the disparity. Sinal, thank you. And like this is the thing of like I share from this place of like an open heart of I have because I have like there is a binary. I know that I'm privileged. At the same time, I'm not necessarily the same kind of privilege that I witnessed in some of my friends growing up who were multimillionaire families, who had mom and dad there, who had so much money that they got cars and apartments and stuff when they left home. So that was my first acknowledgement of like, one, I knew I was privileged just for being able to go to university and have access to university, which is part of the reason my little divine heart left university because I was like, fuck this system. If only 2 to 3, so part of my anger as well was that the information that I was given and dished out and learning at university level would have been really fucking useful to me at the age of 12. This is where I started to again have my awakenings and started to see this wild fucking injustice in the entire global system. So I'm learning this amazing information that would have radically altered the life I was living at the age of 12 before puberty. And then I learned that there's only about 2 to 3, if that, percent of the entire world's population that even has access to university. So then I'm thinking, fuck the system. Something is seriously wrong with this. And all these years later, I'm learning that actually there's a deeper reason as well, that it's all false logic. All of the things in those previously established institutions are essentially set up to uphold the system. It's all elitist, privileged mind games to keep everybody chasing the fucking illusion and keep the money going, or not money, it's energy. Remember, it's spiritual warfare, it's not physical. The way it's represented in the physical is this false economy, is the money that we exchange, but it's no different than in the Bible, like the gold. Just dangle the fucking gold in front of the stupid people's faces and they're just going to keep chasing it. That's all we're doing. We're just giving our power to this financial system, which is essentially just stealing our energy from us and then selling it back to us in shitty toys and shitty games that enslave animals and enslave people. So thanks, Sanal. Yeah, addressing privilege, I'm like, is now, and don't get me wrong though, when I say this stuff, it's subtle. It's not black and white. I'm not raging against the system because there's part of it that we need and that we love, right? I.e., why it's not get rid of the economy. No, shape shift it, make it more harmonious for everybody. Same. Okay, nice one. Nice insight, Kurt. Right? It's like the change the money for any other concept, and it's the same game. It's stealing from one another rather than offering and being of service and being of support on the bridge. Tree hugger. Hi, my friend. Hi, Rochelle. Silver fillings. World's oldest profession, bankers, right? Yeah. Clever, cunning little fucking fuckers. You're like, oh, hold on. Wait a minute. This is quite clever. So I've randomly picked up 3 apples over here just because I what happened to be on a better part of the land. And so because I got 3 apples, oh look, you guys don't have any? Wonder how I can make this better for me. So I'll give you my 3 apples, but instead of just giving me back 3, you're gonna have to give me back 5 because I helped you out when you needed it. And there again, this is where I see the like, oh, it's so fucked up. And where when you watch Zeitgeist, you'll realize debt is money, money is debt. Like the whole system is rigged beyond, right? But there again, in my even in my like little innocent mind, before Zeitgeist, before internet went, but I still had this random awareness of the falseness of the system. And I was like, okay, so poor people are already poor, and then you penalize them for being poor. That's also why to me the system is so fucked up. Is that it's like the same with our banks. So when I start bottoming out financially, is when the banks like, and I'm like, oh, so the system needs everybody to stay in debt to uphold it. Because it's not it's not resource based, it's not creation based, right? Fucking fucking right. Trade of value. So that was an insight I had back in the early awakenings as well, Alf. It's like what I knew deep down, and like, because I saw it in the corruption, was like, oh my God, everybody's chasing a career and chasing success and chasing stuff, right? Everyone's chasing, getting all wrapped up in the chase of all this stuff. And I'm like, but wait, what's really important? It's us. Like, surely we're it. And then, like, again, like, these are my early, I'm 19 years old going, yeah, but didn't we make the money? No, the money didn't make itself. We made the money. And now we're going round in circles going, oh God, the economy. Oh, well, it's just what it is. Oh. And I'm like, no, it's not just what it is. We're invested in it. We made it. We agreed to it over time. We're not victims of it. It's not this separate thing that just like manifested on the planet. I'm like, no, no, no. Human consciousness created this system. Now we have to uncreate it and or just move on and create a new one. You know, people just constantly, oh my God, I have no money. I'm like, nobody really has any money. It's not fucking real. Do you have energy to spare? Yeah. Could you smile? There you go. Like, could you be real for a moment? Look, that's fucking valuable, isn't it? And this is part of the shift that we're moving into. If people are going to keep playing games and keep using power over tactic, they're going to run out of value. They're not going to have any value to offer one another, right? To offer their brothers and sisters. And increasingly so, the masses are not going to tolerate entitled fucking privilege. It's bullshit. And I mean entitled by the people that go around with any number of support systems and they're still fucking victims of circumstance. Poor, 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 poor them. And then how many more fingers could they point around to make it everybody else's problem why their life is a piece of shit? At the same time, look at, I say that with such like strength and almost aggression, but you know, the truth of it is, I'm just like, I just want everyone to be happy. I just have like worked so hard on the inner work. And then I realized like you do have to do it yourself. No number of cannabis joints or coffee or booze or clothing or sex is really going to ultimately make you happy. It's you. It's just you choosing to be like, I love you. I love you. And like, that's the thing of like yesterday, I lay in bed most of the day yesterday because I had no motivation to actually live life. And yet, the biggest piece here is that like I can see myself in an old pattern. So I might project onto myself like I'm a disgusting piece of shit. I'm just a depressed, hysterical woman that does not belong in this world. You might as well die. And yet I can see this all acting out inside my vortexual reality, and then I can let myself just come back into my boudoir and roll up here and lie here, and I might lie here for an hour or 2 hours. I might even nod off and fall asleep. I might cry. I might just cry for a bit. And then I just remember, I'm like, oh yeah, that's my service to the world. It's just to feel and be real and be true and like show up and share the legit life force with people. Because I think people forgot. People are afraid of their life force. Hence why people are afraid to feel stuff. They're like, I don't want to feel. It's like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of pain that you've been in denial of, and all the shopping and all the working and all the busyness has been distracting us from the fact that we're like, whoa, these big, powerful fucking cosmic creator beings, and we've been squelched into this tiny little box program that is starting to really hurt us and hurt the planet as well, according to the illusion of it, right? Oh, exactly, true hugger. You know the truth. You know the truth. That's the thing about the resonance here is that some of us, I just feel you know it because you've lived it. You know what I'm talking about because you've lived the transformational cycles a few times, and so many of us, I feel, are just getting popped out the other side, and we're like, oh my god, fuck, what is left? What is left? And then it's like we're good. Everything is changing. Nobody fucking knows what's going on. At least we have heart and we're pretty smart people and we can figure it out. I think we've got some really good ideas that a whole bunch of people could get on board with. And if all else fails, we're just going to set up a community somewhere. and trust and have faith. Hey, maybe in Montana, maybe here in Devon. Who knows, right? You guys, we'll just find our little community and build new earth from there and make sure there's a bunch of abundance for us to do all the things we need to do in love, in harmony, and in flow, right? Exactly, Kurt. That is life right now. We're just all crawling out of this debt-based hole, which you can imagine. It feels like a fucking, um, in space, like the wormholes or like those dark antimatter suction vacuums or black hole or whatever they're called. That's like what resource-based economy is. It was just like, ah, we're just like all being sucked into this infinite black hole. Now, here's the little piece I'm getting. Either we escape, we're all out of the black hole by now, by the way. We're like in new paradigm earth, like helping to shine light for the new. Um, but then some people will get sucked in and go through the black hole experience and then come out the other end and be like, you guys were right. It's fucked. And we're like, I know, that's why we didn't go down it. We've been there, done that. And like a lot of us as souls have been through that. So that's why we know. Like you can go through it by all means. You will be transformed if you go through a black hole. Like any of us who've jumped into our own black hole sun, our dark heart, who have owned our own darkness. It's pretty ickville in there. And however, again, this is why we know what we know. It's like once you penetrate your own black hole, you fear nothing. Because no one else's black hole heart can then fuck with you. It's like you have a lot less blind spots when you're just super vulnerable and transparent. Yeah, but Kurt, this is all the kind of stuff that I swear to love that we could make happen someday. Who knows? Like, there's all these different random business opportunities for my little coastal town right here. And like, even in the last like 24 hours, I've had these little cycle insights around like energies I ain't going back to, like for hells to the shizzer. And then I'm like, okay, this kind of stuff has popped into my mind. I'd be straight up with you. I have two quite cool biz ideas. One has to do with recycling clothes and then printing Ultra Love symbol on it. And the other one has to do with whatever you just mentioned, a play. Like, so it's not always just like a play. It could be like a documentary of sorts. But this one pops in quite a bit, but it's like um or cartoon. So it'd be an animation with a story. So like I have a really short little synopsis for like how the system collapses basically. And if it were a cartoon, it could be drawn out and mapped out like really easy and obvious. And so Kurt, this is the kind of stuff that I intend as like all to love being a movement is that just through the heart's intent I get from time to time people send in pardon me, people send in like blogs and pieces of writing that I share on All to Love. And then like I have close friends. One of them sells like a really high value or not high value, but like it's quite fancy CBD oil. By that I mean it's a little bit more expensive than some CBD oil, but it also tastes better than a lot. So their flavor is traded up by a little bit higher price point. So I'm adding that to the shop. So essentially, also what I'm developing here is that Alta Love becomes like a co-creative creative. So, and that's part of my intention for new paradigm business ownership is that it's not like one, there needs to be enough income coming in to pay myself. So we're getting there. And then as and when it grows to hire people to support, like so pay that with exchange. And then this is something that I see as like the future of the Alta Love like headquarters and or the future of the creative collective of Alta Love is that we would have there were not huge, but there'd probably be a small production team. Exactly. And I already have. These are things that have like dipped in and then out and then dipped in and then out. And where it is, it's me getting the structure in place. So having the resources to outpour those resources to bring in more creativity because my sort of purpose flow is quite anchored if that makes sense. So me doing these shares, and then I have my creative projects that I work in and out of, and and then how I vision it. So there'd be a publishing team, there'd be a production team, and there'd probably be a content kind of structuring team as well. And so, see, this is what I mean about crystallizing form, is that like this is the kind of stuff that comes through as far as like there's obviously a part of my beingness, like my higher self, that's organizing, but none of this is made none of this is actually making like is made manifest, except for then I just did the shares for the earth signs and the fire signs, which are very dominant in my chart, and there's a lot of energy finally in May of like manifesting new things, where I feel like this whole fucking year so far has just been review, lessons, integrations, true divine, very very profound deep healing, a little bit of a slap in the face of like, you can't get control. Boom. Release attachment to outcome. Boom. Don't even think you know ever, you darn ego biatch. It's like having the deepest, darkest lessons that I could not have anticipated coming at this point, and yet, boosh, here it is. And then yeah, and then you just popped in with review, and in reflection, we can continue to discern, outwork, and continue to rise above our continue to rise above our own bullshit, basically. And then come together and work together with shining the light and then pioneering the new. And that would come in our gatherings and our co-creative endeavors. And I mean, in fairness, there's a lot of you that I see this unfolding. I see us being in cooperative working relationships. Oh, Sanov, my beauty friend. Sanov, I feel you. It's deep. It's so fucking deep. And I like, oh, I wanna offer you all the gifts of wisdom. Yeah, breathe, relax, love yourself, all of this stuff, and, and here, Daniel, I can honestly say I have never slapped anyone. I just slap myself perpetually. Because like I said way back when I was like just a little girl, 3 years old or 4 years old, and I saw a cute little bug moving across the ceiling in my grandpa's camper van, and I just went like that with my finger and I squashed it, and oh my god, that little girl, that little girl's remorse at killing the creature, at taking the life force away, it just broke my little heart, and I just thought, never do I want to do things to make hurt to people, to hurt people. And now again, the removing the people pleasing veil is realizing that people, we do it to ourselves, i.e. self-responsibility is the big turning point for empathic rising. And then and weirdly realizing people are like attached to their suffering, it's part of their identity, and as the empath we can often be fooled and think that, but really people just like to have little puppets part of their puppet mastery, and they're not actually thinking they need to change anything at all. But this is stuff that I'm uncovering in my own observation of the human collective, that I actually don't understand, because I've always been myself. I've always had this weird like heart of like, everybody wants to love each other, right? I don't fucking know why. Like my mother reflects it back. She's like, Molly, you're just fucking naive. And she says that with a mother love vibrashe of like, honey, you're quite innocent. You just blah blah blah. She's observed it. At the same time, she too is getting damn tired of me getting used and abused by people who don't get it, who don't fucking get what I'm talking about. They just think I'm pretty, or they just like my energy, and they kind of want it, and they want to be it, or they want a piece of it, but they don't actually feel connected to the truth of what I'm saying. So yeah, who am I if I don't fear, right? And I get it. I get it, because who am I if I'm not in these codependent patterns? Look at this space I've created in my life. There's so much time and space to be depressed right now. It's fantastic, right? But normally we have all these people that we have to tend to and things we have to tend to. And for me, I'm just like, I'm just gonna focus on myself and be absolutely unashamed about having no motivation for life and not really wanting to do much at all, and just go, you know what, for 3, 5, 6 months of a 10-year cycle, we're good. MJ's been fucking hustling really hard for most of her life, and trying really hard to be good. And then and then that's part of this weird all of it is that, like, having to wrap my head around it, and even though I do know this, but experiencing it firsthand is another thing, is that it's like people oftentimes in your circle, one, they don't want you to change, and two, when you do and you actually go and make what the world would see you as a success, they then shut you out. Like they don't want to be. They're quite happy for you to be in these shitty suffering patterns, but for you to actually break free and be happy and successful and abundant, da da da, da, they're like, "Fuck you, bitch." And you're like, oh, sorry, I thought we were friends. Because I spent most of our friendship like supporting you and being a good friend to you and doing all this stuff and and then when you want to be all those things, those people sometimes can't take it, right? Cleaning our closets, right? For sure. Brave. Hey you guys. Hi Tracy. Hi Bridget. How are you? Heart and brain comic strips are the best. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Kurt, this is totally fucking relevant, my friend. Co-creation feels much better than codependency. Oh my geez. And this is exactly the kind of energy that I'm totally present with. And it is undeniable. And yet I can't deny the amount of inner work I've done to get to this point to see the clarity of the contrast, right? And you're absolutely right. It is subtle. And we don't realize how attached we are to our suffering. We don't realize how attached we are to our own pain. And so we keep it close. We keep those people, those things close to us because, but that's my suffering. It's part of my identity. Who could I be if I don't have this story, right? And then we keep it close. And then those of us truly rising into our sovereignty, it's like impossible to interconnect and communicate properly with those people because they're still wanting to be the victim a little bit. They want to be around the energy of self responsibility and empowerment and freedom. Of course, who wouldn't? It's fucking badass. Except the work that's required to actually vibrate there. That's what I'm being honest with in my realities. Like I can feel the difference and I just don't. I'm just like bored of it. I'm like, "Oh, you're still lying to me. I'm bored." And like people can be honest or not, they can lie or not, but I'm aware that if they're lying, they're just lying to themselves. So like, "Hmm? What you gonna do when they come for you, bad boys, bad boys? What you gonna do? What you gonna?" This is all your guys' fault. When MJ gets delirium, you guys are projecting your fucking crazy on me, all right? Ah. Oh my god, Sanal, exactly. Like my whole fucking life identity was about helping people, bringing a smile to people's face, which I'm not putting myself down, but there is a fine line between being a slave to other people's shittiness and then getting entrapped in that and enslaved by that versus like, let us meet and co create together from that mutual understanding of integrity and heart-based communication and exchange. There is a difference versus somebody being like, I don't know, I can't even go there anymore. Like I can't even energetically because it's never been my way. Manipulation, control, except for when I was in some of my darkest patterning where I was in despair, I was in toxic patterning. Thus, it was me doing things that were really mean. The thing is that as an empath, you never get away with anything because if you cause pain to other, you feel the pain. It's the same. That's part of this whole empathic awareness. I'm like, guys, we're all fucking connected. And people that are new to the sensitivity, what I'm realizing, instead of giving me any fucking gratitude or credit for reminding them to feel or for da da da, they're like, I'm so sensitive. I'm like, no, you're not. You're just beginning to wake up. And now because you're beginning to wake up and feel stuff, you want to blame me for everything that you feel. Oh, look, it's in the first 2 lines of the book, right? Yeah. Oh, Rochelle, you know what, guys? Literally just in this moment, I'm feeling I'm just gonna say it, my blood. Cause there again, a lot of us as women, we just have so much weird like shame and like I shouldn't talk, it's dirty. It's dirty to talk about the fact that I'm bleeding, but it's true. So I'm bleeding and I literally just got a huge wave. My heater is on. my light is flashing in my face. I'm just like, I just got, oh, I do imagine all the people. Thank you. And Elf, I think that's like the perfect place to just close her down. So we have the answers, you guys. Resource-based economy, more love, more realness, and all we can do is just imagine all the people living for today. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So you guys, oh my god, tree hugger. Yes, pretty much, you guys. There's the thing about like we are all co-creative aspects of the self of where we're going. So somehow we've all co-created this channel, this experience. We're all a big piece of this new paradigm unfolding. However it looks, big efforts, new responsibility, and really simple answers. It is though. Nice Kurt, nice succinct, like so nice. I thank you guys for all of your input today. Increasingly, I'm so enjoying every kind of storm I get through. I'm just in love with this community. I'm so appreciative of you and um, grateful that we're linking in and unfolding these insights, right? Because it's like it's the legit truth. Peace. Thank you. That wasn't, what did I say? I don't think I said the lyric even. I think I said something else. But thank you guys. Living in peace. That's all it is. It's like peace and joy. That would be nice, right? Awesome, you guys. Yeah, go have a look. They're all published and out. The Fires, the Earth, and the Ophiuchus is out as well. Nice. I thank you for adding that to the mix. I appreciate your guys' insight, and then what you guys get me to share is always this again very beautiful co-creative experience. Have a great day, you guys. I love you loads, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.